Hello and welcome to our online demonstration of the Strength by Numbers AxIT products. My name is Andrew, one of the members of the Strength by Numbers team, and it's with great pleasure that I take you through our range of products today and how our software looks and works so that you, as an everyday health and fitness professional, can make the right decision in terms of selecting the right product for you to help upgrade your assessment and bring it into the 21st century. Over this presentation, what we're going to do is talk about why objective assessment technology like AxIT is really important and how it can add a lot of value to your services, as well as run through our software to show you how quick and easy it is to use and how you can start using it to make better decisions with the people that you work with and help get great outcomes with them as well. So if you're not familiar with Strength by Numbers, we are a company based here in Melbourne, Australia, and we manufacture our premier product, AxIT. AxIT is made of three pieces of hardware. We've got our two Stomp It force plate devices, as well as our two different dynamometry products, the Push It, which we can see in the presentation here, the small conical shaped device. I've got one here as well that really allows you to perform all your handheld dynamometry type movements and tests, as well as what we call the Pull It, one of my favorite little devices here that's really versatile, obviously incredibly small but incredibly powerful, particularly when we want to be performing some of those true isometric strength tests to measure the effectiveness of how our patients or clients are moving and I guess the forces that they can tolerate. Now, AxIT is designed as what we would classify as smart strength testing and smart force measuring tools. This means that they are pieces of hardware that obviously measure forces and the things that are going on with the people that you work with, but then they do all the work for you in that they do all the calculations of all the metrics for strength and performance that you might need to set baselines, track progression, and I guess understand how your clients compare to evidence-based references, but also our software does all the work when it comes to the admin side as well. So one-click reporting in terms of generating PDF reports that might help, obviously, when you're working with other stakeholders or if you need to generate reporting for your clients or other people that may, or organizations that may be involved, as well as helping you get all the important data into other tools that you work with, like your PMS systems or other kind of management tools where you're collecting all that information with your clients. So why is this type of equipment important? Well, let's set the scene. I mean, we've known for a long period of time as everyday health and fitness professionals that outcome measures and utilizing tools like that are really important. We know that they're important for helping us make better decisions with the people that we work with. They're important for helping drive engagement from those people as well. So getting them to help understand, I guess, what's going on, how they're tracking and how they're progressing over time. But we're also seeing, obviously, the importance of utilizing outcome measures with the people that we work with in terms of this idea of value-based care, which is becoming more and more prominent in modern society, particularly with some of the inefficiencies of, health funds and some of the other organizations that we may work with as part of our professions. We also see that utilizing outcome measures and technology are really important as part of people's fitness and well-being journeys, and particularly becoming a key trend, I guess, in the way in which these type of services are being delivered going forward. So the utilization of technology and the utilization of objective measures are really the thing that drive that continuum of care from the people that we might see as health professionals, maybe in some of those acute phases of management, to that ongoing health and wellness optimization journey that goes on with some of these individuals too. So if we know that it's really important, why aren't we utilizing this stuff already? You know, for you watching this video today, you're probably in that consideration phase as to, okay, I'm thinking about maybe getting some of these tools and things like this, but there are some key issues, I guess, with that, or maybe there are some reasons why you haven't jumped in and started utilizing this type of equipment already. And I can guarantee you these three core reasons are part of it, because we've done a lot of research into this, and this has driven a lot of, I guess, our philosophy as a business, as a company, and in our product design to make sure that we solve these problems. Number one, you're probably not 100% sure on how you might utilize this type of equipment. You're aware of it, you're aware of some of the things that you could do with it, but you wouldn't be 100% confident necessarily in terms of what's the exact testing protocol that I need to do, what's the exact result that I need to be looking for, and what's the exact outcome that I'm looking to get from that, or things that I'm going to do off the back of that to be able to help make a difference in the way in which you deliver your services with the people that you work with. And we really understand that here at Strength by Numbers, and particularly with the development of our product AxIT. Number one, we've gone about solving this problem for you by creating a comprehensive training portal as part of our product. So we go to great lengths to make sure that you can onboard yourself in terms of how to utilize the equipment, how to perform your testing protocols, and understanding what you're looking for and what's a good result. So you'll be able to feel 100% confident that you'll be able to do it. But also, if you have other team members that you're working with, all of that responsibility isn't just going to fall on your shoulders as well. You'll be able to utilize our training portal to help them onboard themselves as well. So everyone can make sure that they learn at their own self-pace to become really familiar, confident, and competent in the utilization of these type of tools and technologies with the services that you deliver. The other part, which is probably the key part when it comes to what we do here at Strength by Numbers with AxIT, is we've really focused on creating a really simple and intuitive user interface with this type of equipment. So unlike some of the other brands or other tools that you may have seen out there that are probably more designed for high performance sport, or maybe they're designed for a research based setting, we've really decided to focus on simplicity as a core component of our tool and our product. So what this means is that it's really easy for you to get in and start doing your testing, and it's really easy to see the key results and the key metrics that are involved as part of that type of testing. So it's very easy to see, okay, what are the metrics, kind of how does that compare to maybe some of those evidence-based references? How are things trending and tracking over time? Where should your client, be getting to? All of that type of information. But also acknowledging the fact that you're actually not the end user of this type of tool and this type of technology, even though you'll be using it a lot. The end user, of course, is the client that you work with. So making sure that your client is able to see these tools too, and I guess the intuitive data displays, and being able to understand what's going on as well. Because at the end of the day, not only are these tools great and they're really useful for helping you make better decisions with the people that you work with, but they're also amazing educational and engagement tools that really help your clients understand where they're at, where they need to get to, what's the plan in terms of how you guys are going to get there, and really keeping them engaged and motivated, I guess, as part of that process, which is going to obviously enhance the retention of your clients as well as help them achieve awesome and amazing outcomes. Number two, if you're looking at this type of equipment, I can guarantee you one of your key worries is going to be, if I introduce a new tool or a new piece of equipment into what I do, is that just going to add more of a time cost on the other end? So we can guarantee you that that definitely won't be the case. AxIT is the fastest piece of equipment to use when it comes to being able to perform your testing and get straight to the best bit, which is getting the information on your client and on their performance and understanding where they're at. So it's the type of thing you can get underway retesting a previous client in under 10 seconds. It takes under a minute to set up a new client, which I'm going to show you when we get into the software demonstration in just a moment. But there is no additional time cost when utilizing AxIT, no more than doing any normal assessment that you would already do. The benefit of it, though, is that you've gone from rather guessing or having a subjective outcome, you've got a measured and objective outcome that you can track and you can monitor, and it'll give you hard data on the people that you're working with. Finally, the last part is that probably if you've been looking at any of this stuff over maybe the last 5, 10 years, certainly there has potentially been a big cost that's been involved, a bit of an investment as part of it. The great thing is, obviously, as some of this technology becomes more accessible and more available, it also becomes more affordable. And we're really proud here at Strength by Numbers that with AxIT, we've been able to really pass on some of the cost savings that we've been able to get, through developing our product and enhancing it. We've been able to pass it on to our customer. And we can safely say that our equipment is the most affordable and most accessible smart force plate and smart dynamometry products that are available on the market. So you can really get underway, really kind of getting into this type of objective assessment, upgrading your assessment, and taking it to the next level with a really quality product that is going to last you for a long, long time. So I hope that gives you a great understanding of why we're here and talking about this technology. But let's not muck around. Let's get into it and let's show some of the software in action and how it can apply in your workflow as an everyday health and fitness professional. All right, so here you are. We've fired up our AxIT software, and this is just me just running a screen share of our AxIT software directly in action live. This is no kind of pre-recording or anything like that. Beyond obviously the fact that you guys are watching a recording here today. So when you fire up your AxIT software, you've got two choices. You can either look up a previous client, which is as easy as typing in a name or some details. I'll show you that in just a moment. Or, of course, you're probably going to be adding new clients as you go, when you're assessing them as they come in and see, because you're going to be wanting to set baselines in terms of where your clients are at so that you can track the effectiveness of what it is that you do and obviously helping them towards their goals. And that's really, really simple and easy. So, for example, if I just add some details here, for example, a first and last name, no prizes if you can guess maybe who that individual is. But if we add some details here in terms of obviously their name, their gender, and then their date of birth, and then simply just some details around maybe their body weight and their height, away we go. So we've entered those client details, and now we're ready to select what it is that we want to be able to do. So for example, the way in which we handle this here to make it even more streamlined and easier at Strength by Numbers with AxIT is we have what we call our playlists. Now, playlists are designed to be groupings of protocols of tests that you might perform so that you can then perform, I guess, those testing actions in series and really kind of collect all the meaningful data that you may wish. Now, we provide some templated options for you. So we call them our kind of quick playlists. These are kind of smaller groupings of tests. We have our more super or extensive groupings of tests if you want to do more comprehensive testing protocols. Or we can add some sports-specific type testing protocols. So we have some for all the most popular sports that are available. Or, of course, you can create your own custom-based testing protocol. So as you can see, we've got a lot here of just different groups of tests that we might perform for different groups. So that might be something like, for example, a sports-specific one that you like in particular. You may have some kind of workplace assessment screening protocols that you have in place here. Maybe it's something for a certain condition or a certain group, maybe for groups who undertake some exercise type classes or sessions with you. You maybe have some different groups or of testing protocols or things like that you do with them. So that's one option in terms of getting straight into your testing. Or, of course, you can select your tests on the fly, which is as simple as going to our quick start option and then going through each of the different devices in which we may wish to be able to perform some testing. So as you can see here, we've got tests for all the different regions of the body. So for example, this is using our Push-It handheld dynamometer. We've got obviously the Stomp-It smart force plates here, which once again cover lots of different movements. So everything from all your different kind of jumps, your lifts, different push-up variations, some different isometric strength tests, or of course utilizing the Pull-It, once again, some different region-specific isometric strength tests that you can perform. Now you may notice some of those tests as well have a little light bulb icon next to them. These are tests that have some of those evidence-based references, which I'll show you in a moment, which allow you to compare your client's results to others. So in this example, what we might do is, let's have a look at some different kind of shoulder strength tests. So for example, I might do a shoulder abduction strength test, as well as I might do a maybe a shoulder. Let's go with like a shoulder external rotation using the pullet, shall we? So, some of those common strength tests that we would want to look at for shoulder strength and capacity. Now, once we've filled the testing playlist with the tests that we have, we can do some things like we can rearrange them if we wish. We can delete them, which is as simple as swiping and kind of deleting that. So we can add or take tests away as we need. But once we're happy with the tests that we've got, we can then just do or go to and start running the test as easily as just hitting the run it button. Now we have the option to zero off the devices or not. In this case, I'm going to just skip ahead from that because we don't need to do that. And as we can see, our devices connect and away we go, we're ready to roll. So in this case, we're going to perform a shoulder abduction strength test utilizing the push it here. And it's just as simple as placing the device up against the body part, and then the client exerts the force into the device as hard as they can for around 3 seconds or so, and then we rest for about 3 seconds, and we repeat that 3 times. So as you can see, we perform that test on the left. We can then do the exact same test on the right, so we just hit the start button, we start recording force across the device. Might try a bit harder on this one, pushing hard, and then the device will calculate for us the average force that was generated across that. So as you can see here in this example, it's spat it out straight away. We were able to generate around 16.1 kilos worth of force on the left side and around 18.9 kilos worth of force on the right side. So about a 15% difference, which is probably pushing towards, the better end of normal in that case. Often around that kind of 10 to 15% difference from side to side would be around that kind of the higher end of a normal imbalance for most individuals. Anything else bigger than that, maybe it's something that we're going to consider in terms of our client, in terms of managing them. Is that kind of imbalance meaningful to their presentation? So that gives us a look at that peak force, which sets a data point that we can then measure and track. But also one of the other great things about our AxIT software is that it will compare that client's results against some of their physical characteristics to how they should perform as a percentage of their body weight. So in this example for Peter, performing with 16.1 kilos worth of force on the left and about 18.9 kilos worth of force on the right, he's generating about 20 to 24% of his body weight on each side. Now, what we can see is from some of the research and some of the evidence, we should be able to generate around 14% of our body weight. That's around the kind of median there. So Peter's really outperforming in that respect. So definitely we wouldn't be considering him to be deficient in his shoulder strength on a shoulder abduction test. Maybe we're just looking a little bit more at that imbalance and whether or not we need to improve that left side. One of the other metrics that we get generated automatically as well is looking at the rate of force development too. Okay, so this is the speed at which that force has been generated. So in this case, on the left-hand side, Peter's generating 49.3 kilos per second worth of force on the left and about 60 kilos per second on the right. So a bit more of a difference there, but still, probably fairly in line with the imbalances that we see in the peak force. Now, this rate of force development measure is more looking at that neural drive or the explosivity of the contraction, so more closely related to the power exertion of those muscles and in that isolated position, that certain muscle length, that certain joint angle, how explosive is that individual. So certainly really useful when you're wanting to look at, I guess, the explosivity of a certain area. You may wish to test that across a bunch of different ranges too to see if there's some consistency across that. So now that we've done our testing with the push it, now we can move on to performing our testing utilizing the pull it. So it's as simple as just connecting the device up here to 2 different anchor points. So in this example, we've got our ankle strap handle here. I'm going to hold on to that. But you can imagine if we were to perform a shoulder external rotation test, usually we're going to have the arm down by the side, elbow bent at around 90 degrees, and we're going to be pulling into an external rotated direction. But as we can see, it's just simple as being able to exert the force once again across the device in a tension-based movement. Same again, usually we'd perform around a 3-second hold, 3-second rest, and same again, we'd perform around our 3 repetitions on the left, and then repeat that on the right. So once again, I'll be a bit stronger on this right-hand side, exerting a bit more force. And we'll just move through that quickly so that we can see it's really, really quick and easy to generate that testing result. So as we can see here, 13.4 kilos worth of force on the left, 17.9 on the right, about a 25% difference from side to side. This would probably be something that would be a bit more significant for us. And once again, we can compare those results to some of those evidence-based references. So in this case, the right side looking like it is around the mark, a little bit stronger than what the average should be, but the left side may be a little bit deficient. So in this case, potentially we would be working on that left side, particularly in that external rotation, to try and build up the strength in that area. Same again, we can look at the rate at which we're developing that force, if that's going to give us some extra information in terms of our programming. Maybe it's an example where we may have even peak force and an imbalance still in the rate of force development. So that could be an example where we need to build more in terms of the explosivity or the speed of that force generation. One of the other great things that we can do too is we can expand that force trace and look through it if we want to look at, the individual details of some of the movement. So for example, we can look at the different peaks that are involved in the different reps if we want to be able to compare those, or if we gain any more information from the qualitative information that comes from analyzing the actual force trace, we can do that too. Once we've finished our session, then all we have to do is we hit our end session button, and that will then store that session as a numbered session, as we can see in the top corner here, against Peter's profile. So makes it really easy for us to come back and analyze and look at. Now, what I'll show you now is obviously this is us performing one session. If we wanted to, if we were coming back to, say, reassess Peter, say, this is the first session that we've performed with Peter, we've set our baselines, we've then gone away and we've implemented some type of training program, maybe something to build the strength of that left side, as we found there was a little bit of an imbalance or a deficiency there. Then what we can do is we can come back and reassess that really quickly and really easy, just by hitting the rerun session button. And as you can see, if we go into that testing once again, if this time we'll be a bit stronger maybe through that left-hand side. So I go back into my testing, we can perform that. I'll just quickly add some extra force here. What we'll also see is that then those trends will be plotted against the previous session. So we get this nice trend line down the bottom here. With every session that we perform, it will add another data point to that trend line. And hopefully what we'll be tracking is any of those imbalances from side to side will be decreasing. And obviously our overall results are probably increasing in a positive manner. So in this case, as we can see with the left side, is now generating 27.6 kilos worth of force, an amazing 72% increase. The right side is 29.7 kilos worth of force, an amazing 57% increase. And that imbalance from side to side is now only 7%. So fallen well and truly under that 10% bracket, which is reduced by 8%. So just to give some examples of how quick that is to be able to show, I guess, that trend and that progression. Of course, then if we compare to those evidence-based references, we're really knocking it out of the park now, which is fantastic. So just to give you some ideas in terms of that. So if we go back to our first session though, where we did some of that testing, we then have some options in terms of things that we can do. For example, we can add some notes to this testing session. So for example, there may have been a little bit of pain on the left shoulder. So we can add that information to the testing session, and we'll see there's a little red dot now against the notes function there, which will mean that we've added a note. to that. And then, of course, then we can generate a PDF report, which is one of the key features as to why you would want some of these smart, strength testing and dynamometry devices. So as we can see, our report is generated. We've got our branding here in the top right-hand corner, and then we've got the details of who we tested, when we tested them, what tests did we perform, as well as any of those comments or notes that we may have added to that session. And then just the nice display of the graphical results. Now that'll also include, obviously, in that trend line there, any of the trends of the progression over time that you may have had with that client. So it makes it really easy to generate that PDF report, which then is really easy to action with as well. So for example, we can send an email straight away. If we'd already set up the client's email, we could set that there, but if I just hit cancel, that'll just skip ahead. And as we can see, it then just takes that PDF. We can then go through the email client and send directly to the client. So it would populate that email if we set up the email address beforehand. It comes with a templated part in the body of the email that then just means that you can just hit the send button straight away, and away you go. We can also then just share that PDF report, which is particularly useful if you want to share via Bluetooth to your computer. So for example, I can just share that with my MacBook there, which is useful if I need to store that report somewhere else. So maybe I need to take that into my management system for my clients, or attach that against another profile, or potentially I'm going to interact with that PDF report to send that to a third-party payer or another stakeholder that needs to know about this report. Of course, as well, if you're old school, you may still print off, things like this as well, in which case then it's just as easy as hitting the print button, and it will generate that into a printable PDF that you can print as the client's heading out the door and hand it to them, so that they've got something tangible that they can take home with them. Maybe that's to show a loved one or a significant other, so that they can explain the findings of the session, and hopefully as well promote, a bit more of what you are doing as well, because I think things like this are really important to be able to show that you're utilizing advanced technology that is, generating some really quality results and really interesting data on the people that you're working with. What you'll also notice is in the top right-hand corner is once you've performed a session 2, it will also then show that little cloud icon with a little green tick on it. Now, what I'll have to do is I will show you now on another screen what that will look like. So AxIT Connect is our cloud-based portal in which all data from any testing session that you perform will be pushed up into the cloud, into the browser, so it's accessible there, so that you can utilize and access your data and work with your data away from the tablet, or when you're working with the other systems that you work with. Because one of the things here at Strength by Numbers that we understand is that our tools are not the be-all and end-all of everything that you do. We understand that they fit in amongst all the other different parts of your workflow and the services that you provide, and that, the efficiency of how they work together is a really, really important piece of the puzzle. So as we can see here, when we come to our AxIT Connect portal, we then have access to all of our kind of testing results here, if you will. So for example, if we go to this first testing session that we did with Peter Parker here, this is the first one that we've shown as part of our testing. As you can see, those results as a text format are then pushed up to the cloud so that they're accessible. Now, you can either just kind of copy and paste those as you go. You may wish to just copy and paste individual pieces of that. Or if you're like me and you want to save a lot of time, what you're going to do is you're just going to hit the copy button here, which is going to copy all of that text to your clipboard. And then what makes that really easy is if we go into our patient management software here, or our client management software, all we have to do is go add treatment note or add note. And then if we go to the assessment field, it's as simple as hitting copy and paste. So hopefully easily copy and pasting all of that assessment data into your client management software, saving you a lot of time and hopefully allowing you to go home early at the end of the day. So it's as simple as hitting save final, and then away we go. We've got that all saved there. So that's just one example of the standard workflow that you would likely have with a lot of your clients in terms of generating a client profile, performing some testing, getting that testing where it needs to go, or generating reports, all of that. Of course, though, our devices not only perform just your isometric strength tests, as we demonstrated there. If I search and find an example of myself, as we'll see, what we can also do is we can perform tests utilizing our stomp at force plates. So to give you just some examples, I mean, these tests are typically tests of dynamic movement. So that could be something like a squat, a lunge type movement. Maybe it's an isometric strength test like our mid thigh pull test here, which is a really great test of overall isometric strength in a lifting type movement. So a real fundamental type movement, and a really great replacement for other tests that you might perform. For example, like a 1RM or a 3RM deadlift or something along those lines, where we would be testing a client's strength, but there are inherent risks involved in doing testing like that. So we would usually only reserve that type of testing for people who are very confident and very competent in performing those actions. They may not be appropriate for some of your younger clientele, or maybe even some of your much older clientele who wouldn't necessarily have the skill set to be able to perform that type of action, to be able to test their strength. Yet, we understand that strength is such an important quality of people's movement that we really do want to be able to assess it and understand, I guess, where your clients are at and hopefully track their progression in that. It doesn't matter if the client is a junior athlete or one of your geriatric clients, everyone needs strength. It's just that we often all require different levels of it, but we need enough for the things that we want to be able to do. So in this example, something like our mid-thigh pull, where, for example, we're standing on the force plates, we're exerting force against a resistance that we can't overcome, it's going to measure the maximum strength and force that we can generate down into the floor. And in this example, as we can see, things are looking pretty good. They've progressed, quite a bit since the last time we did this testing. We can also compare the rate of force development, which is once again more closely associated with the power generated in that movement. Or my favorite thing is just to use the total force measure here, which is that capture of the one measure of how much force is being able to generate as a combined left and right side on the force plate. So as you can see here, we're now generating 243 kilos worth of force in that type of movement, which has improved about 20%. So that would be a great result. Things are certainly looking up, and definitely if this was a 6 to 8 week reassessment after performing a strength training plan, this would be a really great outcome for that type of client. So there's some examples of some of the isometric strength tests that can be performed. This would be similar as well for things like an isometric squat, an isometric calf raise, a seated calf raise, or soleus raise. So there are lots of different examples of isometric type strength tests that you can perform utilizing the force plates. Also, you may wish to assess things like jumping type movements as well. So we have lots of different jumping type protocols that can be performed. So for example, this is a counter movement jump in which obviously we're able to calculate still things like the peak force, the rate of force development, but also some other metrics too, things like the amount of landing force. So how heavy does someone land when they're performing that movement? Obviously, the heavier people land is not necessarily an ideal outcome, as we're kind of seeing here in this example, but also things like jump height. So looking at the calculation of how high someone can jump. Often this is, probably the most important metric for a lot of people. We can assess things like takeoff velocity, which once again has a lot of influence in overall performance, or even things like, braking impulse or propulsion impulse, which are looking at the different phases of movement as well. So if you're quite knowledgeable in terms of jump science and how to calculate and program some of these things, these metrics may be useful for you in terms of your calculations. We've also got other tests like our drop jump tests, drop hop, so we can do jumping and hop type variations, as well as things like a 10-5 pogo variation as well. So there are lots of different options in terms of your jump and jump metrics, including the ability to calculate things like ground contact time, your reactive strength index, other metrics and measures as well for jump type performance. So they're all available in the AxIT software to be able to calculate that. So It's all well and good if AxIT provides some great information about the people that you work with, but how is it going to translate into meaningful outcomes, not just for them, but also for your business? And we're totally acknowledging of that here at Strength by Numbers. Number one, we find that our users utilizing AxIT improve the retention of the clients that they work with already. So those individuals who are working with clients and are able to show those clients where they're at right now, where they need to get to, how they're tracking along that journey. They're able to help utilize data to explain and educate the client on what it is that's going on and what the management plan is. We find that that helps drive that engagement and that buy-in into that plan. So really keeping those clients motivated and really sticky in terms of what they're doing. So that might be making sure that those clients are sticking to some of your exercise-based programs that you're performing, making sure that they're coming back for that reassessment appointment and that they're engaged in that. So driving that retention is one of the number one ways in which you can start to gain more of a return on your investment when coming on board as an AxIT user. One of the other things that we find that a lot of our clients are doing really well is that they're increasing the amount of new clients that they're seeing through multiple different channels. Number one, AxIT is a really visual tool. So it's great for marketing and promotion of your services. Looks great on social media, and particularly I guess explaining the stories of the people that you work with, utilizing visual data and showing, I guess, the effectiveness of your services and your expertise. One of the other great things about AxIT too is that it's a totally portable setup for strength testing and being able to perform these type of tests, which is really useful if you want to go out onto the road and promote some of your services with other health and fitness professionals. It might be going down to a local sports club or going down to a local gym and providing a screening session or promotional night in which other people can engage and interact with you as a professional to show off what you do. Everyone loves a cool, shiny blue bit of equipment, and particularly something that's really techy that is able to obviously generate reports and things like that to show people. So it's a really great way to engage with other members of your community and help, I guess, set yourself apart. Finally, one of the other great things about utilizing advanced assessment technology is it really does provide the opportunity to create some new services around assessment. Previously, assessment has always been the type of thing that people have done either part of the initial phase of the acute management or maybe, with some ongoing exercise prescription. Seldom has it had the ability to have its own services provided around it. Once you start to utilize technology and provide, I guess, a higher level of service around some of this equipment, around some of this assessment, the ability to generate those reports, this is where you can create some more high ticket items around that. So a lot of our users are utilizing assessment as part of those services, whether it be to add and increase the value of things like a 10-pack of their clinical Pilates type exercise services, or maybe their small group training programs, that type of thing. So they're adding the assessment as part of that service, which is obviously the thing that's going to track the progression and the effectiveness of it. That might be one way. Or they're providing services like a 12-week running type assessment or management type program, one in which the assessment part becomes its own part of that service. Once again, it may be an assessment at the start of that service, maybe midway through and at the end. The alternative here too is the ability to provide assessment as its own standalone service. So this could be the type of thing where providing a 1-hour comprehensive assessment and then charging effectively for that is one way in which you can start to recoup or get some return on your investment, because without this type of equipment, it can be very difficult to provide that level of assessment service and justify the cost that's associated with it. So just a few of the ideas around how you can start to gain that return on investment when coming on board as an AxIT user. So there you have it. I hope this presentation has given you some great insight into AxIT, how it can fit into your workflow as an everyday health and fitness professional, but also how it can hopefully not only achieve some great outcomes for your clients and the people that you work with, but how it can also help your business achieve some great outcomes and grow and progress and upgrade the level of services that you provide as well. If you're interested in talking to myself or another member of our team regarding AxIT and some of the pricing options that we have available, we'd be more than happy to talk to you. So feel free to contact us as part of one of our AxIT chat sessions, or if you'd like to see this demonstration again in a more detailed and personalized way, we're always happy to run through a one-on-one demo with you as well that you can access as part of our AxIT discovery call demos. I hope to speak to you soon. Take care.